Time for Media Watch here on France 24. For that, I'm joined by James Creedon here in the studio. Hi there, James.
Good evening, Catherine.
And we're going to be talking about this absolutely huge story that we're covering so much in the news as well, the conflict in Mali.
That's right.
Obviously, in any kind of conflict, images, communications, very important factors for the governments to consider. How is this being represented in the French media then?
Well, there is a certain amount of analysis, for example, in L'Express magazine online, of the fact that we're not getting a lot of pictures of what's happening, apart from this sort of stuff, Rafale fighter jets taking off from Bamako airport and elsewhere. French soldiers, you also have British carriers bringing in supplies as well. That's all we're seeing. We're not actually seeing the conflict as it's happening on the front line. And indeed, journalists are stuck, for the most part, in Bamako. In fact, almost all of them are stuck in Bamako. TF1, France Télévisions, the major networks in France, have sent multiple teams each to Bamako with the idea, I suppose, that they could disperse and head out. Not happening. They're all staying in Bamako. There is what L'Express is called a media blackout. Essentially, the French army and the French state is saying, it's too dangerous, guys. Stay put for now. We're dealing with special forces operations. It's not suitable or safe for journalists. But as the journalists have been saying, the head of France Télévisions News, Thierry Tullier, has said, look, this can't go on for too long, because there is also an issue of the right to information, the right to be informed as to what is going on.
And the journalists taking responsibility for their own security as well.
Absolutely. So we'll see how long this goes on for. Over at TF1, they're saying, look, we would go for being embedded with the troops over having no pictures at all. But certainly this is an issue that is being criticised by some in the media. You also have a lot of, I suppose, spin, as you would expect with any conflict of this nature. You have François Hollande there speaking to his three ministers. That photo, one of many coming out from the Elysee in an attempt to show the president certainly in charge and being decisive. And you also have this picture of him at the Defence Committee on Saturday afternoon. And you can see there that he has his hand raised, with all the others taking note of what he's saying. Some at Europe 1 radio have made comparisons with this famous image from when Osama bin Laden was captured in May 2011. That was a White House official photograph. And over at Arrêt sur Image, a media sort of analysis website, Daniel Schneiderman has gone so far as to call it propaganda. He said the war started quickly, but the supersonic takeoff of propaganda was even quicker.
Okay, and I have to point out that France 24 does have a reporter who's made it further than Bamako.
That's right.
That's a very Mathieu Mabin who we'll be hearing from, yes, later on. What about the Malian press and media then? What are they saying?
Well, François Hollande is very popular in the Malian press at the moment. They're calling him a Malian, so I suppose it doesn't get more adulatory or congratulatory.
Taking him on as one of their own.
That's it. It's not a big love affair between Mali and France, writes one journalist at Le Républicain newspaper, but the swift action of François Hollande has reconciled these differences henceforth. They say, from our cottages to our palaces, our saviour is called François Hollande. And indeed, they're talking in this newspaper here about Hollande mania.
Wow.
So he's a popular
Certainly
man.
not something he's seeing at home here in France.
Absolutely not.
Okay, well, there's also a counter-offensive online. French media and government websites that are being spammed. What's that all about?
Well, if you take a look at these messages, Catherine, they're on the Le Monde Facebook page and across the web, really. Take your hands off Mali's Muslims, or we swear we will defend our brothers and we will make you pay back, in 3 languages, in Arabic and French as well. And you can also see that on the French Foreign Affairs website, on Twitter. It's on the European Parliament's website. It's on the UN's website. This is a massive spam attack, essentially, on French media and French government websites.
And do we know who's behind all of this?
Not for now. And the Le Monde is guessing that it could either be robots or a group of people just consistently spamming.
Copying and pasting.
That's right. But they're certainly trying to get their message out as well.
We do have just a little bit of time for a very important story in Somalia, that hostage crisis, a soldier who was killed trying to release an intelligence agent, pictures circulating online. Very short amount of time, unfortunately, to talk about this.
Very few pictures coming out of Mali, but in Somalia, too many pictures, really. This is one of the few incidents I know of a dead soldier and his photo being circulated on Twitter. The French media are not sure what to do with this. And so they're linking to, they're not showing the photo, but as you can see here, the Huffington Post website does link to it. It's a Twitter page and it says, François Hollande, was it worth it? With a link to the photo. And that was put up by the group responsible for, well, it is presumed they are responsible for his death.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much. James Creedon with Media Watch
Catherine.
here on France 24. Okay, well, we're going to take a little break, just a couple of minutes. We will be back with more news for you, including that top story that we are following very closely, the crisis in Mali. Do stay with us. We'll be hearing from our reporter Mathieu Mabin, who's in the town of Sévaré.